Hey tubers, welcome back for another adventure. This kind of goes under my spare parts category. Perhaps hoarding is the right word for describing this. As you know, I have this bunch of TRX300EXs, but I truly have no spare parts for any of these. I have a partial motor for 250X, you know, a couple of carburetors floating around, but really nothing else. So when that happens, especially when you kind of get partial bikes, you frequently find yourself looking for that one bolt, and it's very annoying, and quite honestly, it gets expensive quickly. If you figure each bolt, by the time, you know, I find it and order it and get it here, you know, what price could you put on it? $5, $10, you know, something like that. So whenever I start a new series of project like these 300 EXs and the 250X there, I always try to get spare nuts and bolts, and I start watching eBay. Frequently people like tear these engines apart, and they when they're done, you know, after they do a few rip aparts, they kind of shovel everything off their workbench into a box and label it up and put it up for sale on eBay. So this is an assortment box for 300 EXs, and there's kind of two of them in here, and I unwrapped, like, this is the flywheel and the reverse clutch, or the starter clutch, and there's two of them and two gears that go with them. And then I got the starter gears, right? There's two of that kind and two of this kind. This is the external starter case cover, and that's the plastic cover that goes over the top of it. I've not been into one of these engines. I don't have a hoard of these engines that I've worked on, but I have worked on the ATC 250 engines and the TRX 250 engines, and I know that these gears do go bad for them. So quite honestly, just in these gears, I probably have more than my $80. This one sounds like it's got a timing chain problem or something along those lines, and it came with two sets of those bars that the chain runs along. It also came with a timing chain. I'm not normally one for using used timing chains. You know, you save yourself $50 in timing chain, but then you know, if it throws the chain and you take the head out, you've just thrown away $250 worth of head. So, you know, valves and so forth. These look like the oil lines that oil the head. Looks like there's a pair of them. This is for changing gears, you know, that I call them ratchet wheels. Not quite sure what they do. They look like the flywheel. This is the shifter, part of the shifter. Once again, a couple of parts I don't recognize offhand. And then I call them the bags of bolts. There are 3 of them here. This looks like the oil pumps, a pair of oil pumps. So, some of you might say, oh God, more junk for the shelf. Or some of you might say, boy, I had to buy a flywheel and it cost me $75. So one flywheel alone pays for it. once again, I haven't for the, what do I have? 3 of these now. 1, 2, the one behind me and the one outside. So I have 4 of these 300EXs. Right? I don't have one that has stripped out gears, but I do have the TRX300 or ATC 250ES. I have a couple of those with stripped gears. I'd be surprised if they're interchangeable. That would be, you know, a big win if they were, because I happen to need some there. And I haven't stripped any gears out on these yet. Notice I went with the yet. But I would hope that you know, these gears are probably worth the money. Normally the way it goes, kind of, you buy all this stuff and you'll use a piece or two, which will make you very happy that you have the assortment. But generally speaking, I'm figuring that I'm probably not going to have any trouble with flywheels or starter clutches. I'm probably going to go through these nuts and bolts, like, you know, as I need them. Normally these nuts and bolts, they like to put the, I don't know what you call that. It's a regular, that's 8 millimeters, but then it's got a shoulder before you form the actual threaded part. I like those, you know, for the cover. It's kind of like they have a built-in washer and so forth. A lot of times they're the first bolts to disappear. Then people use the ones without the shoulders on them for everything. And then the flat edge of where you put your wrench has a tendency to chew into metal unless you put a washer behind it. So I'm happy to have an assortment of them. And even those guys, if I run myself over to the Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha deal or whatever and say, oh, I need a few of these, and you know, you're buying them at, you know, $2 or $3 each, it doesn't take long to hit that $80 worth of parts I just picked up here. I always find it interesting the way they ship this stuff. I guess this guy cleaned out his shredder. I gotta get that out of here. Mice love this kind of stuff, so you don't want to leave a box of this in here. It's almost like you know, catnip for mice, minus the cat. So I'm gonna go carefully dump this in the garbage to make sure I didn't miss anything in there. Maybe he left a, you know, $20 bill on the bottom or whatever. Anyway, I do recommend, if you are, and if you have the money to do this, if you are buying some of these bikes that are in, look how many pieces I could be missing condition, these assortment boxes of spare parts come in really, really handy. I normally like to pay less than $80 for it. Given the size of the shipping box, I don't know what it cost them, like $14, $15 just to ship it to me. And you know, these flywheels, I saw the flywheels, and I've had flywheel issues before. Sometimes you end up with material in here and it kind of grinds up between the flywheel and the stator. So it's not a bad reason to have it. Once again, the starter clutch is still on here, which is a good thing to have. So I guess, you go through it part by part. $80 is cheap, though I like to spend less than that. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and make sure you get out there and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.